Okay, this is the Saga of Heracles video number 2. We talked about the kind of background and uniqueness of Heracles as both a demigod hero and a divine Olympic god. So now we're ready to get into the story itself. I reminded you of the family tree, and remember that Electron here is the son of Perseus, the great hero Perseus. Could you imagine having him as your father? What, what a hero to look up to, shoes to fill. I don't know. I can imagine that he might be kind of a douche, really, if you're, got a father like Perseus, and I don't know. Maybe not. But kind of how he is about his daughter kind of does lead to that. Okay, so Amphitryon is a hero in his own right, and he falls in love with the princess Alcmene. Now, Electron says that Amphitryon will be able to marry Alcmene if Alcmene stays pure. So Electron is going to leave and try to retrieve some cattle that was stolen by his enemies. And so when he leaves, he actually leaves Amphitryon in charge, kind of his test of leadership skills, I guess. And he tells Amphitryon to leave Alcmene a virgin until he returns. So the kind of difficult part of this story here is that when Electron returns with his cattle that he has successfully retrieved, Amphitryon, in trying to take care of the kingdom, mistakes him for an enemy and a cattle thief, and he accidentally kills Electron with a club. Okay. That's the first thing here. Like, how do you accidentally kill someone with a club? Like, you have to get close to kill someone with a club. Like, don't you think you'd recognize your future father-in-law? Oh, well. One of many questions, right? So, because Amphitryon has killed the king, his future father-in-law, this does not go over well. We've seen this happen many times before. If you kill the king, you're going to be in exile. So, Amphitryon is exiled to the city of Thebes, where his uncle is the king, and whom he is going to seek shelter from, and who's also is going to try to earn his favor to help him win Alcmene back. Okay, so the first thing that his uncle tells him is that, look, if you want me to do this for you, you've got to do something for me. So he asks Amphitryon to help him out with these troublesome foxes that are plaguing Thebes. Okay, so this is King Creon. If I didn't mention his name, I'm sorry about that. That's his uncle. So anyway, the immortal foxes are foxes who have been fated to never be caught. So you can't just go hunt them with regular old hunting dogs or anything else because they're fated to never be caught, and you can't go against fate. So Amphitryon is determined to get Alcmene's lands back, and so I'm sorry, Stella is really unhappy here. So he goes to Athens to borrow the undefeatable hound of Cephalus. Now we're going to see this hound again. Let me go get my own hound. Let me pause here for a second. Okay, so we have actually seen a bit of this story before with Artemis. Because if you remember, Cephalus was the husband who was gifted the arrows that never missed their mark, and who accidentally, of course, killed his wife because he liked to lay naked and talk to the breeze. You'll get more about that story, another reminder, when we get to the saga of Athens. and Theseus. So anyway, he goes to Athens to borrow the undefeatable hound of Cephalus. Now this is a dog, a hunting dog, who has been fated to never fail. So you have these foxes that can never be caught being chased by a dog that can never fail. So this is just a chase that goes on forever. And so finally Zeus has to step in and settle the contest by turning the foxes and the hound into stones. So again, you know, a little bit of etiological story to perhaps explain these maybe rock formations that kind of look like foxes and a dog. But anyway, so Amphitryon does take care of Creon's fox problem, okay? And so he is able to get Creon's help in winning back Alcmene and winning back her lands in Thebes. So this other little part of this pre-story before Heracles' actual birth is about the golden hair of immortality. So this particular expedition against the Teleboans actually happens right around the time when Heracles is conceived. So Amphitryon is away on this expedition against the Teleboans. The king of the Teleboans has this single golden hair in his head that is a gift from Poseidon. It is a gift from Poseidon. It's not necessarily any special gifts or talents or anything like that, but if you cut the hair, it will kill the leader. Okay, so he's not like immortal or anything, but he's definitely got this hair that if you cut it will kill him. So while Amphitryon is away, Zeus disguises himself as Amphitryon and approaches Alcmene and says, "Hey, honey, I'm home." And she's like, "Oh, I've missed you so much." So they proceed to, you know, reunite, and Heracles is conceived. Well, it just so happens that the real Amphitryon then comes home the following day, and he's like, "Honey, I'm home. I'm so happy to see you." And she's like, "Well, okay, we already did this, but sure, why not? I'm happy to see you too." And so she and her actual husband have relations, and she becomes pregnant with his son, Iphicles. So the key here is that Iphicles and Heracles are born as twin brothers. But Iphicles is the son of Amphitryon and Alcmene, and Heracles is the son of Zeus and Alcmene. So, might have been some confusion there about the fatherhood if some of the things that Heracles accomplishes as a baby wasn't so, you know, amazing. All right. So, before Heracles is even born, Hera is ticked off, and she starts to persecute Heracles. She does this all his life, but she starts before he's actually born. And for one thing, Zeus does not do too much to help this, okay? Because on Mount Olympus, Zeus boasts that he will have a son that will be born on a particular date, who will be the ruler over all who dwell about him. And this is detailed in the Iliad. So Hera is like, "Oh, that particular date, huh? So, yes." So apparently she had it out more for Heracles than for some of his other demigod children, because Hera, remember, her daughter is the goddess of childbirth, so she gives what is supposed to be Heracles' birthday to Zeus's grandson, which is still be a kind of son of Zeus, Eurystheus. And so Eurystheus here, where'd my cursor go here? There he is. Eurystheus here winds up being born on what is supposed to be Heracles' birthday, and he gets the birthright that Zeus was supposed to have for Heracles. And Eurystheus gets the throne that was supposed to be Heracles's. All right, so the persecution of Hera, as you can see down here, is a recurring theme in the Heraclean saga. So we'll see this over and over and over again. All right, so continuing on here with the infancy of Heracles, remember, miraculous birth story is a common motif in these sagas, right? And so are some early difficulties and early opposition. And in the case of Heracles, it's all at the hands of Hera. So Hera sends snakes to try to kill baby Heracles in his crib. However, Heracles is able to kill the snakes. He basically strangles them to death with his tiny little baby hands. And that's kind of the key there, that there's something special about this baby. Because his obvious kind of special abilities, Heracles gets like the premier of a heroic education. So he has several heroes who serve as his tutor. Eurytus here is his tutor in the use of the bow and arrow. Autolycus is his tutor in wrestling, and it's wrestling at which Heracles has his biggest triumphs. Amphitryon, his father / stepfather, I guess, tutors him in charioteering, chariot racing. Polydeuces, if you remember him from Jason and the Argonauts, right? The demigod whose talent is boxing. Of course, that's his tutor in boxing. Linus is his tutor in music. However, this is one thing that Heracles doesn't necessarily take to, because Heracles strikes his tutor with his own lyre and kills him. He is able to kind of evade murder charges by claiming self-defense. I don't know. Music tutors are deadly, I suppose. All right, so when we get to this point, we're leaving childhood and infancy behind, and we're getting to some of his early adventures. So we'll start with this here, right? The myth of Heracles and Thespius. All right, so we'll start here. This should actually be 2. I'm sorry that they kind of got squished together there, okay? So anyway, by the time he's a young adult, Heracles had grown to a great height. He was 6 foot tall, very tall in ancient Greece. And he is very attractive, and he attracts the attention of Thespius, who is the legendary king of Thespia in Boeotia, which is around Thebes. Thespius is a descendant of Heracles, one of the ancient kings of Athens, and Thespius desires to have grandchildren fathered by a hero such as Heracles. And so Thespius offers Heracles his 50 daughters as a prize if he kills a lion that has been problematic in his region. This is not the Nemean lion, which is one of his deeds or labors. Okay, so different lion. So the hunt for the lion lasted 50 days. And so during each night of the hunt, Heracles sleeps with each of the 50 daughters, and each daughter becomes pregnant and gives birth to a son. Wow. Okay. Women and their cycles, women that all live together, that doesn't, never mind. All right. You know what I'm saying, but if you don't worry about it. In another version of the story, he sleeps with all 50 daughters in a single night. That's impressive. All right. And in that particular version, he actually only sleeps with